have spoken, and they're saying they want
Hello?
more years of douchebag.
Yeah.
Tell the audience what you do, what your hobbies are, your current pursuits, and what you're invested in. So simple.
So, I'm a teacher, author, strength and conditioning coach, and father of 5, husband of 1. And yeah, so that's kind of the stuff I do. I've been teaching for 23 years. I have been trying to make a difference in the lives of young people, and invest in my time and energy in trying to build a creative mindset. I think that's probably been my biggest goal. And hobbies, I like to work out, stay fit, spend time with family, travel.
No games?
Yeah.
No gaming?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Most definitely. Yeah. So I'm a gamer as well. Currently on the PS5.
Yeah.
No.
So that's kind of how it's working.
Okay, perfect. So what made you choose to become a teacher?
Interesting question. I didn't choose to be a teacher. I really believe that teaching chose me. My path, my educational path, was to become an engineer. It fit my skill set. And I was looking for a job, I guess, that allowed me to solve problems. And when I looked at all the different things that were available, engineering seemed to come up. I quite liked science. I was quite good at maths. It seemed to fit. I went to college and studied electromechanical engineering, and I loved that. It was amazing. Like, we made stuff all the time. We just did things. It was very practical. At the end of that, kind of the natural step was go and do a degree. Previously, the other step would have been to do an apprenticeship, but kind of the year when I was getting ready to apply, all the apprenticeships kind of dried up. So it was kind of like, what am I going to do? So yeah, so that was it. I studied electrical engineering for 3 years. Got to the end of the degree. I think the 3rd year, I kind of just thought, I'm not so sure about this. So got to the end, or, like in your 3rd year, typically you'll start applying for jobs. Started to do that, applied for a few jobs, and started to really question everything, like, but is this the kind of job I want to do every day? If I'm honest, my initial thing about engineering was it paid well. And I thought, that works well for me. But then I kind of quickly got to the point where I decided that I needed to do something that would give me more than just a paycheck.
And did you think you personally realized a bit too late that you had to pursue what you wanted rather than?
You know what? I think it's an interesting one, because although at the end of my degree, I kind of knew I wasn't going to do engineering. It was just a bit too boring for me to be. It was too sameish. It was like every day was the same, just a different location, but the same work. And it was, So I decided I'm not going to do it. So I can remember having a conversation with my parents at the time, like, well, I'm not going to do this. And then it was like, okay. And, my parents were very understanding and whatever else, but I didn't have a plan B at that stage. So I went back to my university, was collecting my dissertation, and I was talking to one of my tutors, and he said, you should be a teacher. I was like, what? Like, do you know what I mean? To be fair, I didn't even feel like he knew me that well. But he said that, and it was just totally out of the blue. And then, so I was in his office, and he took this thing down off this piece of paper down off the wall, and it had something about applying to be a DT teacher. So I was like, okay. And then literally, I got on a train, I went to Mill Hill, and I enrolled. And then I got back home and I was like, what am I doing? Like, do you know what I mean? Because I had never even for a second considered teaching. It wasn't in my plans. I hadn't ever even had a conversation about going into teaching. I didn't even know what teachers did really. But there I was, I'd signed up for this course, and then, yeah, that was the beginning. Then I started the training, and I thought, this is cool. Like, all of the skills that I'd learned in engineering applied, you know, in terms of the practical skills and all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay. But then in the back of my mind, I was still like, but can I teach? Because I can remember being in classrooms with teachers that I felt couldn't teach. So I didn't want to be that guy. So I was like, okay. So then I think what kind of happened was it got to the point where we had to do our first teaching in front of kids. I was super nervous. I was like, but it went well. And I thought, this is all right. And then that was the start of it, basically. So then we did some more training. We did, you know, so obviously I had to do like a year of teacher training before I started teaching. And then in my first teaching practice, I started at St. Bon's. And then at the end of that practice, they offered me a position. And then I was like, no, can't do it. Because I didn't know enough. And then I went and taught in a school in Buckinghamshire for the rest of that year. And they offered me a job. And I was like, no. It was just too far. It was just like, I wasn't going to go live out there. It was like one bus every like 6 hours. It was
Wow.
So yeah, so then I came back. I think I applied for a job at St. Angela's after I finished my degree. And then they said they wanted someone with more experience. And I was like, what do you mean? But yeah, but it was what it was. And then, because I think at that time, Bonds were only offering a part-time position, not part-time, but from September till Christmas, and then you'd have to. But that just didn't really work with my plans. So
you knew that you deserve better. So.
Yeah, so I went to the interview, and then I basically said this is what I really want, and they said you were outside, and then I came back in, and they said you got the job, and the rest is history, really. You know? So yeah, so it wasn't in my plans.
Yeah.
It was God, I say. Do you know what I mean? Because yeah.
Go on.
Okay. So I obviously had to do my research. So I looked at your Medium page, and you call yourself a polymath. So yes. At what stage do you think you became a polymath? So like, let's say, because obviously you're a very knowledgeable person, but when do you value yourself so much to the point where you're like, yeah, I know a lot about everything? So it's just like, yeah, how did you come to that?
I suppose, you know, I think I've always loved learning, and I've always enjoyed just discovering things and trying new things, and I'm very competitive, so I've always liked to be good at things. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well.
Yeah.
And I don't mind investing time, energy, money, whatever it is to get to that point. So I guess probably in secondary school, I started to realize I got a little bit more than the average.
Yeah.
And you know, I think it obviously there's that saying, jack of all trades, master of none. And I just thought, why does that have to be true? And I think that as I was going through college and university and reading about people like, you know, Leonardo da Vinci and Tesla and these guys that did lots of things very, very well, I thought, so that can't just end with them guys. You know, like,
yeah.
And that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense that it would just be a one-off. And if I was willing to, because I feel like in life, there's always got to be equity. there's a price to pay for everything. And if I'm willing to pay a particular price, then why shouldn't I be able to access certain things? So so then I can't remember when I came across the word polymath, but
today was my first.
Yesterday was my first as well.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I like that. I like that. Because I'm not really a person for labels. Because I think sometimes they're like a jacket that can limit you. But I think that one's an empowering one. I think that the opportunity to be a master in many areas, that excites me. Do you know what I mean? And it gets me up every morning and drives me to keep on learning and all that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's like an end point. I think it's just the journey. I think it is the journey.
I think in a sense that being a polymath and being able to understand a lot of different traits has led you to become a bit more of an effective teacher in secondary and sixth form. And that would be the question, why would you say you're more effective with teaching others? Because from my personal observation of others and what I keep hearing is that we wanted to be in your class all the time. We wanted to be with Mr. Odle and learn, whether it was DT or you could teach maths, go for it, we're fine. But you teach us. So tell us how, what was the process?
I think that's a harder question for me to answer. Because like I said, I've been in classrooms and as a student myself, obviously throughout my education, but also as an experienced teacher coming in and looking at new teachers as well. And it's hard to pinpoint specific things. I suppose at my core, I just want to be genuine. I just want to be authentic. Like, I'm not pretending to be anybody. Like, this is who I am. So if you meet me in any of my settings, you'll see the same guy. And I find it easier that way. I don't, obviously, like, even as a young teacher, you might be inspired by certain things, you might see certain things, but I never really wanted to emulate somebody else. I just believe that if I'm here, and I know my stuff, and I genuinely care about this stuff, because I do, like, I love design. Do you know what I mean? But I also really care about the kids that stand in front of me. And I think that for me, it's really important to know each child, and to know something about every single child, and not just for you to just be a candidate number or a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that in doing that, there's more to, because, you know, it's like, I think, just like with parenting, I don't think discipline works without relationship. And I don't think teaching works without relationship. I think that if you get to the point where, or if I can get you to the point where you care about what I say, then we can go on this journey. Do you know what I mean? I think that in my memory, there were certain teachers, I couldn't care what you said. I couldn't care less.
Yeah.
Like, it could have been the best stuff or the worst stuff. I couldn't care less. Like, I'm just beyond you. Do you know what I mean? And I think, and I think that thinking back to my own experience with teachers, it was the human aspect of them that drew me to them, not so much the specific subject. I think that human aspect brought the subject alive. So in answer to your question, it'd probably be easy for you to ask other people. Because I don't know, because I don't know that I'm the same for everyone.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's really strange, because obviously, like, because I've been teaching for such a long time now, I'm teaching people's sons. I taught.
Wait.
Yeah.
That's inception.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I've got students who I've taught, like, I remember the first time it happened, someone came in and said, "Oh, do you know so-and-so?" And typically it's like, "Oh, is that your brother or your cousin?" It's like, "No, it's my dad." You know what I mean? And it's like, wow. And obviously at that stage, it kind of comes with a bit of legacy, because they might say, "Oh, this is," do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and the parents even is like, "Can't believe you're still here," and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just think it's like teaching is complex, but so simple.
You make it
Do you know
look
what I mean?
very simple.
You know, I just think that you can overcomplicate things if you choose to. But there's an objective, and for me, the objective is to take someone from a place, whether that's of total confusion to a little bit to some certainty, or just from wherever you know, it's to move them along the path. Because I might teach them for 1 year, I might teach them for 5 years, but I would like for them to be able to do it without me. That's the key. I want them to be able to do it without me. I want them to embed some stuff, some skills, some thinking processes, all that kind of stuff, so that they don't need me anymore. Because otherwise, what am I? Like a bad driving instructor that's just trying to make money.
Yeah.
You know, no disrespect to driving instructors. But you know, like I remember being in classrooms and students saying, like, certain kids progressing so well, and other kids saying, "Sir, he's better than you." And I'm like, great. Like, why would that be a challenge to me? Why would I feel like, no, you can't?
Yeah.
That's the goal. The goal is that you're going to take it further. I'm not going to be here forever. So if you can learn some stuff, develop some skills, and move beyond, that's the aim.
Damn.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, it was a very good answer. I have a question about so basically you have, as a teacher, you have the like a responsibility as well. You kind of have to bridge the gap between like friend, educator, and as well as someone who has to give them like discipline in some stages as well. So how do you think that you find that gap? Because what I've seen you do really well is like you can make connections really well between certain people. So what makes you so effective in that sense?
I suppose, going back to what I said previously, I genuinely care. Like, I'm actually interested in what people want to do and their goals, and like I genuinely would have a conversation with someone, not just to tick a box or to say. So I think that what I've discovered about myself over the last 20 odd years is that I have a certain skill set. I'm starting to sound a bit like Taken, but but I've got a certain skill set that allows me to be accessed by all people.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think I have like racial boundaries, or I think I'm like the crossover king. Do you know what I mean?
School became your passion. School became your passion in a sense.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like I've been talking, me and my wife have been talking recently about, you know, if we get to a situation, you know, when we're in a situation where I don't need to work, she was like, but you'd still work, wouldn't you? She's like, even if we had billions of pounds, you'd still work, wouldn't you? And I was like, I probably would, because it's a two-way process. Like, I get so much inspiration from being around creative minds. Do you know what I mean? It's like, while I might be the flame, you guys are the fuel. So I could be a spark, but then without you guys, it's dead.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, because I don't know, teaching isn't just delivery. It's not just the transfer of information. There's a back and forth, you know, and there's nothing more exciting than when I can see a kid get it, or a kid get excited, or a kid bringing a bit of work like that I didn't even ask them to do, but they're just like, now I can see they're on that mastery road. Like, I just want to get good at this. That's mad. And even now, 23 and a half years later, that still is amazing, you know? I'll get kids that just be like, oh, sir, they'll see me in the playground, sir. They'll be rushing through their bag. I'm thinking like, what is it? And they'll bring out this piece of work. And it's just like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? And what's interesting is you can see those students who get it. And they get it beyond, they're starting to get it beyond my instruction. And they're gonna do it regard, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's weird because I think as a teacher, my biggest job is to be an advocate, to just be the because I might be the singular voice that says, you know what, you could do this. You know what, like that's special. And if that one voice, that one conversation is the thing that pushes someone to do a little bit more, like, I don't know any other career that gives you that kind of satisfaction, you know?
How do you seeing those students that push past and they're more driven to that specific field, how do you not get attached between students and keep a distance in the sense that, everyone's equal, but he's going to make it more and he's going to do more?
So the thing is, even though, as you guys, you're older now, you'll see in life, there are going to be people that win and people that don't in certain situations. I think that it's not like, the challenge of teaching is that within the same classroom, I could have a kid that will do everything I say and nothing I say. Do you know what I mean? They could be in the same room. I could be delivering the same message. And for one student, that is everything they needed. And for another student, they're just not interested. So my daily challenge is to try to keep everyone engaged and to find a way, an angle, a perspective to show these kids that actually what I'm showing you is beyond DT.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if you can get good at problem solving, you can do it anywhere. Do you know what I mean? People pay money for solving problems. If you think of CEOs that are headhunted, they're brought in because they solve problems. And it's a way of thinking. It's a process. It's an approach. And regardless of what your end goal is, I feel like there's value in DT for you. There's value in life because we're all going to have to solve problems, whether they're little problems like, I need to get to Newcastle or, I don't know, I've got to pay this bill or whatever. Do you know what I mean? There's going to be problems we're going to have to solve. And if you've got a strategic approach, I think you'll do better. If it's haphazard, if you're just making it up every single day, you're going to have levels of success, but it might not be sustainable. And you might not be able to see growth. And you might end up feeling frustrated and feeling like it's not fair. And, life's not fair, but we get on with it. Do you know what I mean? But we can create opportunities that change the balance.
Yeah.
And I think that being a creator rather than a consumer is a powerful place to be. That's never going to change. We're always going to need stuff. We're always, you know what I mean? We live in a built environment. We wear clothes. Do you know what I mean? We eat food. The creators, look at the lockdown. There have been some careers that have struggled.
Crumbled.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But there are some things that before the lockdown were probably not even valued.
Yeah.
But people are thinking, wait, there's a bit of stability in this now. So yeah, but I think, and you'll see the pandemic, lots of people have been brought back to a place where they've looked at their creativity. And they've thought, maybe I could start this, or maybe I could do this, or do you know what I mean? Instead of just being on the roller coaster of life, and just thinking and getting to a point of thinking, well, I'm here, we'll have to do.
Okay, cool. So carrying on from like the whole lockdown thing. So like, how has lockdown affected you, and what have you been doing during lockdown?
So how has it affected me? At the beginning, I think like a lot of people, I got caught up watching the news, all the other stuff, and you know what I mean. And as a father, I think there was a moment where I was like, have I got everything in place? Do you know what I mean? Just being real. Do you know what I mean? Is everything in do you know what I mean? And then I was like, what? Get off with that nonsense. Do you know what I mean? And then I just got back to the plan.
Yeah.
And I turned off the news, turned off all the other stuff, and I realized actually the fear that was trying to be induced through the media and all the other stuff wasn't useful. It wasn't useful to me. So then me and my wife wrote a book. So that's what we did. Like during the first lockdown, we wrote a book. I'll show you.
We're gonna buy. I'm gonna definitely buy it, and then I'll show you.
Yeah. We definitely need to.
So together we stand, building a bulletproof marriage. So that's the second book that I've written.
Shameless plug.
Yeah.
I'll go plug it.
Then,
You can plug
and
it.
then the other one is Stop Losing.
Amazon links will be in the description.
Everyone.
Yeah. And yeah, so I think that obviously other aspects like my dad is now 80. And at first he was sucked in as well. Do you know what I mean? And it was like just trying to explain that actually there's stuff that we can do to be well and to be safe. Do you know what I mean? Got him exercising and doing other little bits and pieces, and so it's like at the same time my mum was not really ever caught up in it.
Yeah.
She was just like whatever. So yeah, I think that it's been an interesting time. Like during the first lockdown, going out, the energy outside just felt different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We went from total chaos. I think the world needed a reset.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean? I really do. And I think that I saw people, just walking with their partners or in the park with their kids, and it was like a renaissance to a previous time, but obviously with kind of slightly more dubious circumstances. So it was like, yeah, like obviously in terms of work, it was kind of different. Well, it was very different. And then we, technology kind of kicked in and we started to do remote learning and different things like that. But being able to spend time with my family and my wife, like that's all good. Like, I know that some people would find it stressful, and I don't know, maybe I chose well.
One of the biggest values you learn was family as well. Many people probably understood that is one of the biggest gifts you could have got right now, to be with.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I've always been very family orientated anyway, so it wasn't like, oh no, I've got to spend time with my family. It was like, yeah, this is cool. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, to think for 20 odd years of work, nothing like that ever happened. And I mean, and in my whole lifetime, I was thinking, could this happen? Like, you wouldn't even imagine. You couldn't have been written. It would have been a movie, basically. But I suppose the long and short of it is, it didn't affect me negatively. I know that that's not the same reality for everyone. And the separation for some people is difficult and stuff like that. But I do think technology was important during that time for some people. Just being able to stay in contact and see faces, because on the phone is one thing, but being able to see faces is different. So yeah, but it kind of just allowed me to kind of refocus. we started as a family. We started investing in different things and just looking at different streams of income, and so it was timely. You know what I mean? So yeah, and obviously we're still kind of in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm a victim of it.
Mm.
And I don't plan to be a victim of it. So it's just trying to I don't know, I suppose because I've built up lots of habits over the years, just in terms of the way that I conduct my day and my life and whatever else. And like I said, I got caught up at the beginning. But once I was able to just get back on track, the rest of it was kind of automatic. So yeah. But how did it affect you guys?
Do you want to start, Aaron?
All right, cool. Obviously, so me being the young person that I am, started wasting time. Started doing stuff that I was like, oh yeah, cool, I'm on holiday basically. Because first lockdown was, of course, in my second year, so I was chilling. I was doing absolutely nothing. And by the time that first lockdown had finished, I was at a point where I was like, damn, like, because when I first went out, I think it was like May. I think it was in May, and I went out and I just went on a walk, and then you could just see, you could feel it, like it was like, I don't know, it's like I think a lot of people had realized because of like the whole situation and like lockdown and stuff, people kind of realized all these material things weren't needed. And there was a certain ambience in the air where like people kind of, there was a mutual understanding of everyone who was outside was like, yeah, this is cool, like we can all go on walks, we can all vibe and stuff. Yeah, and then so after that point, I got to a point where I started looking into myself, looking internally and thinking like what I really wanted. So now I'm at a point where, you know, I'm in my third year, and I'm now studying Japanese because I realized that I still have a love for that. And I'm now trying to get into a place where I'm trying to create more and do more things, and just kind of just along the way realizing the fact that I had lost my creativity in a sense because of I don't know, structured education or other things like that. But yeah, I think at first, as you said, I think I became a victim of it, and I thought, damn, like here I am stuck indoors, gonna have to do the same thing every day. But now I think I'm in a place where I'm trying to like change habits, wake up earlier, just eat better, do better for myself. Yeah, just try and affect positivity, like bring positivity around me. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
For me, so I'm literally like the opposite of Aaron. Like I already had structures, I already had plans, just like Mr. Odle. I have Mr. Odle in the back of my head since school, so I'm just that guy going forward. I didn't have a time. I did obviously have breaks. I took like 2 weeks off when I was in Lithuania with my girlfriend. I had to start learning more about family, the relationship, building that. And then I sort of merged everything back in through sports, education, and I started continuing my self-education in Forex, and I just kept moving forward. And ever so slightly in time, I took more break or I took less break, and I just kept moving because obviously I had to travel back and forth sometimes. But I never had an issue. I got furloughed, so I'm lucky. And everyone, if anyone's unhappy with that, I'm sorry. I do feel your pain, but sometimes I feel like I don't know what it is. Like even though some of my goals, the things I'm trying to achieve, are not coming as quickly as I would like, other things are sort of keeping me safe, and they're keeping me on track. So I feel like I've been literally like everything's been suppressed for me, from the money, from the ability to continue traveling, to keep having fun. I still had a summer holiday, so I'm not complaining about anything. So that's that. That's basically that. And I want to go back into teaching, just because teaching is like one of the things that I really want to understand myself. If you see, I probably presume, in being in St. Bonaventure's and observing other teachers, you know that they're not as effective as in teaching. We're not going to name names, but it can be seen, it could be heard as well. Do you ever feel the need to go guide a teacher, go help, have a talk? How can they improve? How can they change the field, the way they teach? Is that?
Yeah, so always. Obviously, it's not always, people are different.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And some people will be like, okay, cool. And some people will be like, I'm all right. Do you know what I mean? I think that I'm still at a place, even though, you know, there are only a few teachers now that have been there longer than I have. I'm still open. I'm still open. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like I've got this one in the bag. I'm the master at teach. Do you know what I mean? I don't. Because my goal is to deliver for the kids. And I think if that's your heart position, that's what you're about, then you'll be ready to listen. Because it's not as simple as saying, look, do it my way. It's just understanding that the way that you're doing it isn't working for those kids. Do you know what I mean? Because this is the thing that you guys may not see. Like, say, for example, if I've got 4-year and 8 classes, I might have the same lesson planned for them, but every single lesson is going to be totally different. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be totally, not even just like close. It's going to be totally different because you're going to have different personalities, different situations. You know, you might be there, a kid might just walk in late and it just throws things off a little bit or whatever. Something could have happened in a previous lesson. And so the management of all of that is really tough. And I think that I find it hard to believe that someone would be in teaching with the intentions of doing a bad job.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that sometimes it can be issues like, if you're not from London, then you see things differently. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'll hear things and you might have a different response, or there's just lots of differences. If you're from a different part of London, it could be lots of different things. But I think that in terms of, obviously there's a process and we do like, what's it called? Observations and stuff like that, where a more experienced teacher would typically watch lessons of a teacher and stuff like that. And I think that what's interesting is that now it's shifted more towards what it should be, because before it was more of a judgment. And I think it should really be a diagnostic tool, because if what we want is a school full of great teachers, then it's much better that you come in, you can talk to me and give me advice and whatever else, but I don't feel like I've just been torn apart. Do you know what I mean? Because if it's a judgment and it's like 3 scores, a 1, 2, or a 3, with 1 being the best, if you get a 3, then you feel like crap. You know? And it's very hard to, you know, let's say you were doing anything and someone said, well, you've got the worst result. It's very hard for you to think, or for some people to think very reflectively, thank you for that. That's just what I needed to. Do you know what I mean? It's not like that, because we're human. So you're gonna be a little bit defensive. You're gonna be a little bit hurt. You're gonna, do you know what I mean? But none of that stuff matters really, because if the point is to make sure that these kids are getting the best possible opportunities every single time, then with it not being a judgment, with it just being, you know what, maybe you didn't see this happening, but this is what's happening. These kids are not really engaged. Maybe you should have a little chat with them, or maybe you should try something different. Or I think it's in my new book that I'm about to write. In my new book, it's about teaching, and it's my reflection, analysis of all of this stuff that we're kind of talking about now, and a look at the teacher training process, because there is so many elements to teaching. Like, one of the things that I didn't imagine was that after a term, I would be mentally drained. So like physically I'd be fine, but by the end of a term, you're literally like, if you imagine the thousands of decisions you've got to make, all of that responsibility of trying to get these kids through their exams and dealing with different issues and whatever else, it's so draining mentally. Like you get to the, literally you get to the point you're just like, do you know what I mean? And that's not I'm fed up of this. This is just, I'm spent. You know, like all of my resources have been poured into this thing and I need some time to recover. So, you know, people say to me like, oh, but you're a teacher, you got all this time off and whatever else. And I'm like, yeah, I hear you. And it is, you know, obviously we get lots of holidays, but literally at least the first 3 to 4 days, you're just recovering, you know? So I woke up on Friday, literally, I was like, when you said we're going to do it anyway, I was like, do you know what I mean? Maybe Tuesday. I'll be recovered by Tuesday. And it's like, for some people take things really personally. Some teachers take things really personally. And I think that it's hard. It's hard to be told this is not good enough. It's hard to be even to be in a classroom where the kids are like, this is, because kids will tell you, kids don't pull any punches. There'll always be a kid who'll be like, sir, that's rubbish. Do you know what I mean? So it's about how do you use that? And if like I go back to, if your heart position is I want to be the best for you, then I would take that like, okay, cool. So how do I do this differently? Do you know what I mean? And whether I go and seek someone's advice or whether I go and read something else or whether I speak to the kids and say, look, like I did this thing at the end of last term with my classes, just saying, look, got to the end of the first term. How do you guys think it's going? Do you know what I mean? Is there anything you'd want to do more? Because it's like a consultation process. I'm not just, I'm not Netflix. I'm not, like, you can't just watch me and get it. Like, there's got to be, I've got to know that, like, I've got to get some feedback. I've got to get some, how is this working for you? Because I might be there thinking I'm killing it. Yeah, I'm killing it this term. And the kids might be like, no, I'm not getting it. Do you know what I mean? So we're in a situation where I can ask those questions. So how's it going? Do you know what I mean? And some kids will be like, some kids find it a little difficult, like, what do you really want me to say? And I'm like, no, seriously, like, because it's not about me. It's not, it's never been about me. It's about you. And your time with me is going to be limited. So if you can get the best out of me, then hopefully you go on to be the best of you. If you get only a quarter of it, or you're just not interfacing with me, do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to be a Xbox disc in a PlayStation system. Do you know what I mean? There's no doubt that on that disc, there's useful stuff. But I plug it into my PS5, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not compatible. So if I can figure out how do I make myself more compatible to people, and then I suppose I don't know. Yeah.
We need a console like that. We need a console like that.
No, that would be great. That could be compatible with everything.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So earlier, so you said that, so let's say how some teachers receive different things, especially like from my experience, because I was coming from a private school, and from what I saw, it was one of the main issues that I saw at Bonds was like, I think there was a lack of respect from students towards some teachers. And I know for you, I don't think that was much of an issue because you maintained that companionship within your student-teacher relationship. So one of the things I most respect about you was like your attitude and like your presence, basically. So how do you maintain your attitude like on a daily basis, and like what like habits have you like gotten into to like keep that same drive?
I suppose think of a chessboard. Yeah. Regardless of what's going on, the king is still the king. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like even if you set the board up wrong and put them in the wrong positions, like the king is still the king. Like I don't think that, I think I understand that if a kid is rude, quite often it's not about me. Do you understand what I'm saying? But at the same time, my responsibility is to help you to understand that that's not going to help you in your life. You can't take that out into the working world. You'll get fired. And then you'll be complaining that the world ain't fair. And do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I don't.
Do you say it as straightforward as you said it to us, to the students?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't, because, you know, even like sometimes there'll be something and then a kid will say something in class. They'll just say something and the other kids will be like, oh, like, why would that bother me? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't take anything away from me that you've made this comment.
Yeah.
I might have a conversation with you and say like, okay, so let me explain why that wasn't a good idea. But I think what I decided early on in my teaching career was I wasn't going to do that battle in class, because just understand, as a young man, being a young man when I was, if you tried to take me on in front of my world, I'm gonna fire back. I'm gonna. Do you know what I mean? And that's not because I'm rude. It's just
You muted yourself.
compromise. Do
That's-
you know what I mean? You've conflicted me. I'm gonna have to defend myself because
It's yourself.
it's just gonna be, that's what it's gonna be.
Mm.
So I'm like, if I show you respect, if I say to you, all right, let's step outside, then very quickly there's a difference. It's no longer you having to defend yourself. Now you're having to defend your action. And that's all that it was ever about. It was never about me versus you. Because I don't have those security issues. I've got none of those insecurity. I don't feel like I've got to prove myself to be a man every single moment. I don't. Like, I know who I am. I'm very clear about that. But my task is to try to show you how you can be the best man. And that's never going to work with me embarrassing you, because you're just going to be angry and you're going to be plotting to try to get back in. Do you know what I mean? And that's not, that again, that doesn't build that kind of relationship. So I think I've been fortunate in that quite often the other students would even be like, nah, stop.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And I would hope that that's because I treat people in a particular way. And not, you know, because it's cliche, treat people the way you want to be treated. But that's what I'm saying, it's simple. I wouldn't willingly or knowingly disrespect someone or try to embarrass them, because what is that about? If my role is to empower you, then I can't be doing things opposite of that. And it's just not my character. So I think that in answer to your question, I think the easiest way to maintain that division is to know who you are. And I know who I am. And there's not a single thing that could shake that. Do you know what I mean? A kid couldn't come in and say, oh, so you're rubbish. Like, cool. Do you know what I mean? If that's what you think. And that's fine, like, because you're allowed to have, do you know what I mean? You're allowed to think. I want you to think. I might ask you some questions. Okay, so qualify that. Do you know what I mean? What part of what I do is rubbish? And then you might fall apart, and then that's cool. But if you can give me some stuff, I'll be like, cool. Let me look at that. You know, I think I can remember situations where, like, I've done something on the board or whatever, and I've made a mistake, and someone's like, oh, that's wrong. It is. Wow. Sorry. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, I'm human.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or they might ask me a question, I might not know. Like, especially when I was starting to teach, there would always be a kid be like, so, sir, you know what I mean? I've been looking at the book and whatever. And if I didn't know, I'd be like, I don't know. But then what I would do is I'd say, all right, but let me show you how we can find out. And together as a class, we'd explore it. Because I think that's a lesson as well. Because it's not just, I don't think I know everything, but I know where to find the information. Like, I could find anything out, guaranteed. I either know the people, or I know the places, or I know the websites, but I wouldn't be stuck like, oh, how do we solve this? So if I can teach students how to do that as well, then that's even more powerful.
Okay, so also being the head of design and technology now, right? No, not yet.
System.
To
System
come?
as
But just I'm interested. You want to innovate the field. You want to improve it. You want to push it forward. You're having conversations with the head of the school, talking with the head of department, or whatever the situation is. Do you find that struggle of innovating and changing the scheme to better provide for the students? Is there a block? Does it stop anywhere?
No, I think again, I think I've got to a place now where people trust my decisions, which is good. And that, again, that won't be the same for every teacher, and it won't be the same in every school. And obviously, there will be some times when there's a financial limit and so on and so forth in terms of investing in certain things. But I just present the case. Do you know what I mean? It's like this is how this will help. And again, I'm in a position where people are like, cool. We trust what you say. Do you know what I mean? I think that even, to be fair, even when I started off, and I was like, yeah, we're going to need some computers, because there was no computers when I started.
Oh.
Yeah,
how old are those computers in your classroom?
Oh no, they changed them.
They changed them.
Yeah, they do change them. But what I'm saying is there were no computers. There were no computers. There was just that room that had no computers in it.
So it was DT without the technology.
Yeah, well, the technology was tools and equipment. That was it, really. So graphics was all paper-based. We were all, A3 sheets, Copic markers, and old school skills, and do you know what I mean? And again, because I'm interested in technology and I like gadgets and all that kind of stuff, I was like, look, this is where this needs to go. And even now, there are lots of schools that don't do the stuff we do. Do you know what I mean? Like loads of schools don't teach Photoshop. Loads of schools don't teach SketchUp. They don't teach a lot of different things. But I'm always looking at it like, okay, so what are people using in the design world? What can I, you know what I mean? What can I access? And sometimes I've got to be creative with it because there's not an unlimited budget. But where possible, we'll use industry standard stuff. We'll practice the stuff, and do you know what I mean? And it just means that you've got a little bit of a step ahead. I would hope to teach people at GCSE more than they would learn in their degree. That's the plan.
Good. That came true for me. That really came true for me, man. From sixth form and that transition into uni, no one's ever done any of it. And it feels like, what? How much did I actually do within that period? In sixth form, it literally killed me. Like I learned so much there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think just because there's no guarantee what happens beyond. What I know is that there's going to be a gap between school and the working world. And if I can get you closer and you can see it, then you can probably fill in the gaps yourself. Do you know what I mean? I think that speaking to lots of people that have gone to university and whatever else, it just depends. Because remember, it's people again. So the building doesn't teach you. The facilities don't teach you. You could have the best computer suite and whatever else. You still need someone who knows what they're doing to guide you. Like I've got family members that went to uni and were just told to do projects. And then they're like, yeah, but I don't know how to use the program. And they say, well, just figure it out. And I understand. But if along the way, during your educational process, your formal education at GCSE and sixth form, you can learn those things, it just means you can be more creative. So instead of thinking about the program, you can think about what am I trying to do? So that's always the aim. Yeah. So I don't think I've been limited. I don't think there is a block, simply because I guess I'm the expert right now.
That's how it is.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I think that it's just like in anything, in any career, anything, you want the best people who can effect the most change. So like I'm always like all the time I'm sending myself links to things so I can remember it and trying different bits of software out. Is there anything better than this? Like I'm constantly doing that. The other day I was in Unreal Engine because I've got some projects planned for visualization stuff, and I'm like stored it on my computer and like trying stuff out. And my kid's like, "You're on holiday." I'm like, "Yeah, but this is. Do you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting is my kids can all use the stuff, whether they need to or not. They can. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's really powerful. Whether it's just like I want to create a T-shirt, well then go and do it. Do you know what I mean? You don't need anybody else. And I think that's a useful place to be. Need a logo done? Jump on a computer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people, they can't do that. They just wouldn't know where to start. You know? So yeah.
Okay. So like how do you stay on the forefront of everything? So what are you doing every day to like see what's going on in the world? Like where are you looking? Where do you start?
So it varies. You know, it's like an ice lake. Yeah. And you've cracked it. So like some days I'll have a specific aim. So like typically I get up at about 20 to 6. I'll exercise and then shower, and then I'll have a bit of time before the day starts properly. And I'll look at some gaming sites sometimes because I like the technology that's happening in games. I'll look at it's just different things. Like, but the reason why I say it's like a cracked lake is because when you crack it, sometimes it just splits and it will go this way and then it will take you somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? And then what I'll do is if I find things that are interesting, I'll just bookmark them. And then I'll just come back to them. So it's like on the way into work, I'll be listening to audiobooks. On the way back, I'll be listening to podcasts.
Using your time very effectively, basically.
I'm just a big sponge. I like to pour in, because I suppose it's easier for me then to share. Like, do you know what I mean? You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't. It's impossible. Do you know what I mean? You can tip it, but nothing's going to come out. So I feel like the more that I just see it as, I'm building an arsenal, because there's going to be different scenarios and different things where I'm going to need to interface with different people at different times in different ways. And this message may not work, but this one might. If that one's, I'll take this one out of my back pocket. Or if that doesn't work, oh yeah, I've got this one inside here. But I've got a whole, like, it just seems crazy to me that people don't read and people don't listen to audiobooks if you don't like reading, and don't listen to podcasts. I just don't get it. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Well, I know why people don't do it, but I still think that it's dangerous.
Not to do it? Not to do it? Dangerous?
Yeah. I think it's dangerous to limit your mind.
Even leave
to like fall in that pit of like mediocrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't think everyone, because people say, oh, but I don't read. Okay. But you do, because you read nonsense.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? They'll do you know what I mean? They'll read stuff on social media or I've got time, no time to listen to audiobooks, but you have got time because you spent the last 3 hours scrolling.
But I feel like
You know
the
what I mean?
problem is they don't understand the methods that the companies are using to manipulate them, nor are they psychologically aware of themselves. So what happens is they think they're doing the right thing, but they're not actually looking for the reasons of why they're doing it. And you just, obviously, it'd be really great if someone could just sort of hand feed you the correct information and lead you the right way. And I'm lucky, and Aaron's lucky, and many people that we come across someone like you that gives us some nuggets that lead us on a bit better. The reading and the podcast, it makes no sense. Like literally, it just makes no sense. I'm listening to, it's called an app, Blinkist, and it condenses audio books into like 15 minutes of just the important parts. And it makes life so much easier. You literally listen one a day, just one a day. It's only 15 minutes, come on. And then read 20 minutes. It's simple. And then what do you learn from that? Over 5 years, I think there's a statistic that you'll be the next sort of like professor in that field. So just do it. Just continually do it. So
I think that it's a simple habit, but it's like, it's so crucial in the sense that, like, I know people that will work out, eat well, but then just consume crap in terms of in their mind. And I think that for you to have growth and to progress, I think you need to be able to develop more than one perspective. Because once you've seen something or heard it, you can't unsee it. You can't unhear it. Do you know what I mean? It will just start the questions. And I think the questioning process is so powerful. I think that a question in mind is one that's going to grow. I think that when you don't even ask questions, when you don't question anything, you just accept that whatever anyone tells you, that's dangerous. I think when you've been presented with certain information, I could say something to you, you'd be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. However, do you know what I mean? I've got some other thing, I've got some conflicting perspectives on that. And then you could go away and look at it and think, what do I actually think and believe about this now? If you've only hearing one voice, yeah, that's scary to me.
So you have COVID, right? And you have everyone, like I'm saying, like a large majority of people who don't invest too much on themselves. You get hit by this wave, and now you're blaming the government, and you're blaming this and that. Some people generally just couldn't do anything about it. Yes, definitely. But how do you tell a person that this has happened now, it could happen again, and he still doesn't understand that he needs to start building and improving? How do you sort of direct them even just a tad better so that they're more prepared?
I suppose it's the difficult part of it is a lot of people only do what they need to do, like when they need to. So it takes an emergency for them to act. So sometimes all you've got to do is paint that picture for them, make it really clear, ask them some questions, you know, okay, so look at, this is how you are right now. If nothing changes, in 2 years, where are you going to be? And just leave them with that thought, because that's the thought that's going to help to motivate them. Because you could tell them the virtues of doing it, and this is why it's great and whatever else. But sometimes, or not even sometimes, a lot of people act on their pain. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want this anymore, so I'm going to do something. But if they're not in that situation, they can't always project and think, okay, this is coming. So then they get slapped by it. But what you could say to them is, look, rather than get to that point, this is, all right, look, this is, let's talk it through logically. Like, for example, let's say it's someone's health. So, I don't know, let's say they've put on 5 stone over the lockdown. Yeah. And you say, okay, so it's been however many months and you put on 5 stones. Times that by 2. Where do you see that going? Let them do the maths. Yeah. So they might, you know, you could even say you might not put on as much, you might put on another 4 stones, but that's 9 stones you put on over this period of time. What kind of effects do you think that's having on your body and so on and so forth? All right, let's take it 3 years into the future. Where are you going to be? And then just ask them, like, are you happy with that? And most people aren't. Most people, when confronted with a painful experience, whether it's present or future, they're going to think, okay. But also, I suppose you've got to remember that your job is to shine a light. Do you know what I mean? So as a teacher, that's all I can do. As a person, that's all I can shine a light, say, hey, this is an option. And you could say like, all right, let me explore that. And you could come over and like, wow, this is great. Or you were like, yeah, I can see that option over there, but I'm fine at the moment. Like we can't do it for everyone. We can't save everyone. What we can do is, and that's why I think like your podcast is such a powerful tool. You can provide perspective. You can shine a light. Because it's different if I've never know. Yeah, if I don't know something and you present it to me, then like, okay, this is new to me and I can maybe do something with it. And there are lots of people that just don't know because they're not reading and they're not listening to things and they're not, do you know what I mean? Imagine if your existence is that you get up in the morning, or let's say you get up in the afternoon, jump on your PlayStation, play for a couple of hours, eat some food, scroll, share, eat some food, go out, come back in, rinse and repeat. Where are you getting that new perspective from? Where are you getting that thing that's going to inspire you to better? Where are you going to get that drive from? Like, you're probably calm, happy with that life. Do you know what I mean? And unless something changes, unless you meet someone who makes you feel like I want to be better than I was, or unless something tragic happens, you might just be in that cycle. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, your circle of friends is important. The things that you consume, whether it's through your eyes, your ears, your mouth, it's all important. Like, for me, there's no separation. I can't be staying hydrated, but killing myself with what I'm watching. That doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? I can't be saying, right, I'm eating healthy all of a sudden, but I'm consuming everything else that's negative. So, because one book won't necessarily change your life, but it could shift your perspective. And there's momentum. You'll know there's momentum that comes once you listen to one book and you're like, oh, it's cool. And then you listen to another one and it's like, and it's just a habit. It's just, and like you said, if it's 15 minutes, come on. If someone tries to tell me that they can't find 15 minutes to do it, then I'd probably prove them wrong by just being with them and playing it for 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? If it was someone that was really, really stubborn and I really wanted to see a change with them, I might just literally just play it for 15 minutes. Drive them in the car and just play it for 15 minutes. And look, that was 15 minutes. Was that so bad?
Especially,
because go on.
No, it's like it's listening 15 minutes. It's not like a 1 minute plank, which is like feels like
or 15 minutes of burpees.
Yeah, we're not telling you to work out for half an hour. Like we want you to work out. Yes, it will help. It will take stages to get better. But just listen to the information. We're not even telling you to read. It's like, listen, everything's been said. It can't be any way easier to digest. So,
but you know what, as well, I think what's interesting and what a lot of people don't get about reading is sometimes people read a book and they just don't like it. But there are millions of books. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You could find one that you just can't put down. There are some books that I start and I'm okay. And there are some books that I start and I just have to finish. Like literally, I take it with me wherever I go. Whenever I've got a moment, I'm reading it. But it's like, just keep searching. If that first book, if that audio book didn't do anything for you, cool. Just remember, put it on the list. Don't do that one again. And then go on to another one. But people, you know, because in the same way that with Netflix, people will start a movie and think, no, I don't like this, and go to a new one. They wouldn't necessarily do that with books. because they tell themselves stories about this. I don't know whether it's just the way that reading is presented to some people at a young age, and it becomes more of a chore than something that people do to discover. Because that's where the information is. And why would I go through a whole process trying to figure out a process or stages or strategies when it's there? Someone's already done it and it works. And I could just follow it.
Yeah.
I might tweak it. That for me is more exciting. Let me tweak your method rather than let me spend 10 years developing this method only to find out that it was written in a book 50 years ago. Do you know what I mean? That's dumb.
That's always the time.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think people tell themselves stories. And quite often those stories are really, really powerful. And they can't break outside of that story. So sometimes what you've got to do is create a more compelling story for them. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's good. You got anything?
I don't think I've got anything left.
Okay, I still got a lot. It's fine. How much time do you have in total? How much you got?
Yeah, I'm cool. We can talk forever.
I'm gonna read this because I really want to hear as much as I can from you. So